When we think of homelessness, we conjure up many images. The lone, homeless man who is broken and alcoholic. The teenage runaway panhandling for pocket change. A down-on-their-luck couple living out of their car. Or a mother on welfare struggling to find a place to live. For most of us, we only glimpse these scenes from a distance, if we see them at all. But as a St. Paul Public School employee, you may come face to face with homelessness and not know it. Because homelessness can be as close as the student right in front of you.
Family could get better and understand each other more better. And I hope my mom does get a job back at Walgreens that she wants back, and I can go and we can go and see our old friends again. And I wish we can live in our old place again.
With homelessness growing fastest among women and children nationwide and in St. Paul, more and more the face of homelessness is becoming that of a young mother or a child, often the students you serve.
The number of children in homeless situations nationwide is growing at an alarming rate, and St. Paul is no different. Last year, we served almost 2,400 families and children in our Title I program. And this year, we expect to possibly serve close to 3,000. And the statistics prove this year that homelessness has grown about 11% in St. Paul alone. One of the reasons for that is lack of affordable housing, people who are in domestic abuse situations, and also families who are leaving other cities to come to St. Paul for a better life, and not simply for welfare benefits, but for a better life.
When I first came in the Title I program, I had no idea the magnitude of homelessness in the Twin Cities. I kind of imagined there might be a few families, but I can remember my very first day here, which would have been the first day of school in 1995. So it had been September 7th, September 8th, 1995. The shelter was full. This particular shelter was full. I think I may have had about 40 kids that had to be enrolled in school. Before the end of the month, we had families leave and new families come in. I did an intake of at least 60 children in 1 month in this particular shelter. I could not believe the number of children that were homeless. I couldn't believe the number of moms that were coming from out of state. Moms sometimes through fault of their own, and some through no fault of their own, end up being homeless and ending up here at the shelter. I learned fast. By December, I was overwhelmed because I'd never seen so many children in need and so many moms in need. I remember on one particular day, this mother's particular stipend had come through. She was out of shelter because you get 30 days in an emergency shelter to find homeless. It was 25 below zero outside. She had 5 children and she literally had nowhere to go. And you start to really appreciate whatever it is you have.
I came from Indiana. My mom passed. I was in a bad relationship with the 2 boys' father, and it just wasn't really anything down there left for me, you know, since my mom passed, and she was all I really had. My brother talked me into coming here to St. Paul. He said I can do better, which I am doing much better than what I ever thought I could do, so I'm really proud of myself. Hopefully I can continue to finish school while I'm here in the shelter or when I move out.
Although many homeless families are working to improve their lives, they face numerous obstacles, many of which make getting an education difficult.
So it gets to be difficult, very difficult when you're here and you're thinking, God, all I need is 5 minutes because I've got the stress of being homeless, the stress of getting my kids in school, the stress of needing to find a place, the stress of not having any money. Those are stresses that are compounded once you move into a facility where you're with any number of other individuals that you don't know, and then you have all your children to deal with.
It's hard trying to find a place with your kids because you have to take them here and you have to take them there. There's so much stuff going on right now is that I try to keep a positive attitude for my kids, but then I'm really hurt inside because I don't want to be here. I want a place for me and my kids. So it's kind of frustrating raising them, not wanting to be somewhere that you don't really want to be.
Many times the children, because of them going from place to place, probably homelessness has been a way of life for them, going from shelter to shelter, being in a one room where there's a lot of congestion, a lot of, there's no privacy, and it's a very crowded area. It's like a hotel room. And putting maybe 5 people in one hotel room, and then there's a young baby, maybe 2 or 3 months old, crying throughout the night. Well, this child cannot get enough sleep.
We always have to be cooped up in the room like little birds in a nest. And we don't get to do a lot of things after 8 o'clock. We can't be in the hallways or anything.
The frustrations of living on a bare-bone income with limited prospects for a living wage job or affordable housing, combined with the frustrations of living in a shelter, are often carried into the school system.
The teacher, primarily should know, that a child is from a homeless situation because of what the children have gone through. Their behavior is somewhat different. These children have been shifted from pillar to post in different shelters, so they're not used to being stabilized in any one area, and that makes a big difference in a child on how they act.
From April to September, the children have been in 5 different states. That's difficult to deal with because there's no stability. So either you have children that are extremely aggressive and acting out because they haven't had to connect anywhere, or you'll find a child that's extremely withdrawn because they don't have the social skills to develop friendships or to connect. So you could find a variety of behaviors caused by homelessness.
My son right now, he's really having behavioral problems in school. He's don't want to do what he's supposed to do. He's got a lot of anger in him. He's angry that when I moved here, that we had to leave a lot of stuff behind. He had to leave pets behind, which he loved so much. He had to leave his friends and, just go to just start all over again, leaving the father, not being able to see him, and just certain stuff like that, and trying to adjust to so, because it is hard moving from one place to another.
I'm really trying to get my family back, and you can tell with this one and Tasha that I'm doing a good job. It's just Leo, he doesn't, at times he can be the best child in the world, but if he doesn't want to, like I said, he'll make everybody's life miserable. So, and it's not the teacher's fault, it's not nobody's fault, but I just hope they can have patience with these type of children, because it is hard, and I know it is. If I'm getting this, I can just imagine what they're going through at school, and it's not their child. You know what I mean? They'd probably feel like just taking that kid and shaking him. I know. I can just feel it.
I still see these children as fighters. They're even though things are so very, very difficult for them, I can see them as being fighters because they're stronger than you or I would ever be because they continue, even though they're fighting and they're lashing out at many things, they're still continuing and trying to do the things that they need to do. And if somebody can just catch what's going on in their lives, show that interest, and that's what many times we do, is just go that extra mile. And that's one of the things I would say, if the teacher would just go that extra mile.
What I want to say to my teacher, even though I get sent out of the class a lot, I love her. She's a nice teacher. She's the best teacher I ever had.
The instability and disruption being homeless creates in the lives of students presents a challenge to the St. Paul school system. How do you go the extra mile to keep kids continuously enrolled and learning, even as they move from place to place with little or no stability? To meet this challenge, the Title I Homeless Program was created.
In 1995, the reauthorization of the ESEA Title I Act took effect. With that, it was mandated that homeless children receive educational services and money right off the top of the Title I funds. So with that, the program began, and in the spring of 1995, I actually began going around to the different shelters in St. Paul and finding out what the need for educational services for their children was. And we found through talking with the shelter directors that the greatest need was that children have help enrolling in school and facilitating that enrollment with school records, IEPs, and other various educational services. The shelters themselves did not have the resources to provide those services, which meant that oftentimes children did not attend school at all during their shelter life.
To help enroll and keep homeless students in school, the Title I program hired 35 people to work on location at various shelters throughout St. Paul. By being on site, these employees work one-on-one with parents and students as soon as the families arrive at the shelter.
My thrust, and it's my own personal thrust, is that if a family comes in on a Tuesday, I interview on a Wednesday and their kids are in school by Thursday. And so that's, that helps the parents a lot because the parents' first priority is to actually go out and look for housing.
Well, if you think back on your own growing up, well, for me, my two big worlds were home and school. And to have home be so disrupted by homelessness, it has to impact a child. But if we can keep the school piece as stable as possible, that's going to build resilience in kids. Our program tries to do that by helping kids maybe get into a magnet school where there's citywide transportation. So if they're moving around within the city of St. Paul, they can stay going to the same school. They can keep the same teacher. They can keep their same friends.
In addition to helping homeless students enroll, the Title I staff also helps transport students to school when they can't be transported by regular school buses. This helps stabilize students in the same school, even if they move out of the school's neighborhood. These vans also help parents stay involved with their children's education by transporting them and their children to parent-teacher conferences and other school-related activities.
When I first came, I didn't know too much about how to get them in school and stuff. So Miss Alfreda and Maggie are the ones that provided the buses and where to pick you up and what school they think they should be in, and they had to go through making all the phone calls and stuff like that. They're good at taking me, like if we have meetings, they'll make sure you get there. If they can't get you there, they give you tokens and different stuff like that. So Miss Alfreda and Maggie is really helpful around here.
For many homeless students, getting into a stable school environment is just the first step. Many need help catching up due to gaps in their education caused by a history of disruptive moves. To help them, the Title I program has 25 tutors who work with students in the shelters to help them catch up academically and stay current with their homework.
My kids like being here. They like going to the school downstairs. They like the activities that they have. You know, I like the tutoring. And I like the way she helps Kiara. Kiara more to reading, you know, like to read, make up her own stories. Ms. Davis helped her a lot.
In order for students to succeed in school, they need to succeed in their home life. By providing parenting education, counseling, and social services support, the Title I program works to help students gain the stability and security they need at home to provide a foundation for learning. Sometimes this also involves supplying students with clothing and school supplies.
With the children, they want to look just as normal as any other child. And it's important for them to go clean, to feel loved and feel like somebody cares. Because, I mean, again, they're leaving a situation where maybe they had to leave everything they had.
Our main focus is the school system, but obviously these other issues affect kids in school. Some shelter facilities have support services in place that can maybe do some of the follow-up. Others may not have the social services intact within the agency, depending upon the site. So what we try to do is collaborate with the shelter staff, collaborate with the shelter programs that maybe are entering into that specific facility, and refer families so that their needs can be addressed.
By enrolling, transporting, tutoring, and supporting students and parents in their personal lives, the Title I program strives to give homeless students the same chance at a good education as those with homes.
It's not the child's fault, and maybe not even the mom's fault. But regardless, we have to look past that and make sure that each child in the district gets the same opportunity.
To be able to have Title I to actually come to our facility, to actually do some tutoring with these children, spend some time with them, advocate for them in the school system has been an enormous plus. It has built the self-esteem of our moms because they've been involved in that process. We have moms now who will go to the school and fight for their kids' rights in a heartbeat, whereas a year ago they weren't able to do that, and they would not have been able to do that without Title I.
So with the help, the Title I is providing for the moms to understand the school system much better. Moms are excited about school, therefore they're imposing that upon to their children, so the children are beginning to realize and understand that going to school is very important to them.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to school now. That's what I'm doing now. Hopefully it'll go through, and hopefully the kids will get their education as well. So by me going back to school and them seeing me going back to school, doing what they're doing, math and reading and stuff, maybe it'll make a better improvement. If they see me doing well, they can do well too.
While education is valued by most homeless mothers and children, many have trouble with the obstacles they see in the school system.
The moms do value education very highly. They may have had a bad experience with school as a child, and so it takes a tremendous amount of courage for many of these moms to even go through the school door. The moms do want to support their children in their educational endeavors, but they have to get past some of their own fears, some of their own baggage around that whole issue.
Yeah, my kids, my son said, he just said one day he started to cry. He said, why do we have to go through this? Why are we going through these changes? What am I supposed to tell my 11-year-old why I'm going through these changes? You don't know how that made me feel, having to explain to him. And then he says to me, when I grew up, I'm not going to never be homeless. And I always tell him, don't never say never, because you don't know what life has in store for you. But that hurts me for my kids to ask me that. And then people seem like they don't understand. The schools seem like they don't understand, you know. Then they ask school questioning him, why are you homeless? Why are you moving here and there? So what is he supposed to say?
For many parents and students, being homeless puts them in a vulnerable position, both in life and within a school. The way you respond to them will determine whether they feel accepted and comfortable and able to achieve, or uncomfortable and withdrawn and resigned to failure. And in many situations, subtle and even unintentional actions will determine how a homeless student will feel.
We had a mom here that had 2 boys. They had been out of school for 6 weeks, and child protection was involved because of school truancy and not, poor attendance. So when they got here, they had to attend school. And we enrolled them in our neighborhood school, and there was a 1st grader and a 2nd grader. And when I took them up to the school, we went to the office, and they got a wonderful reception in the office. It was like the 1st grader's head was like down, and he brought his backpack from his other school with all of his paperwork in it. And he just didn't want to look up. I mean, he acknowledged and he put his head back down. And as we were walking down the hallways, going to their classrooms, his head, slowly started coming up. We were talking about the school and weren't they nice in the office? And see, you're going to have a really nice time here. And we get to the 1st graders class, and the teacher's there, and I introduce him to the teacher, and his head is up, and he's shaking her hand. And I said, and he brought his work from his other school. I mean, we're building this up. And he takes his backpack off and hands it to this teacher, and she zips it open, goes through it, and says, well, see, that's the problem with these shelter kids. It doesn't look like anyone has gone through any of this work at all. That's why he's probably having problems. And it's like, you could see him, it's like his head goes down. And I walk over to the other classroom, totally different. Teacher welcomes him, open arms, has his name on the locker, brings him in the classroom, introduces him to the class. This is the child we were expecting, says his name. They are all there. They have made him welcome cards. Brought him into the totally different, just totally different, where this teacher was aware, this teacher wasn't.
By being aware and sensitive to the issues homeless students live with, you can help them earn the education they need to free themselves from poverty and homelessness. Working together with parents and the Title I staff, you can help them fulfill their dreams.
I want to be a teacher when I grow up because it's a good learning experience for me, and I get to teach other children, which I like, and I enjoy doing it. It's my hobby.